You finally reached your breaking point. You caught them in a lie, or you discovered a betrayal, or you just couldn't take one more day of the silent treatment. You packed your bags. You looked them in the eye and said, "I am absolutely done." And then something shocking happens. The person who has ignored your feelings for years is suddenly crying. They fall on their sword. They look at you with desperation and say, "Baby, I am so sorry. It was such a crappy thing to do. I was being a jerk. I need to grow up. Please give me another chance. I will go to therapy. Watch me. I am deleting her number right now." You freeze. Your heart beats faster. You think to yourself, "Oh my gosh, they finally get it. They finally see how much they hurt me. We are having a breakthrough." If you have ever lived through this exact moment, I need you to listen to me very carefully. You are not witnessing a breakthrough. You are witnessing a tactical pivot. The person standing in front of you did not suddenly develop a moral compass or a deep sense of empathy. They simply realized that their old manipulation tactics stopped working, so they switched to a new playbook. The only change you will ever see in a narcissist is a change of strategy. And if you believe this performance, you are going to fall into a trap that keeps people stuck in toxic relationships for decades. Welcome back to the Behavior Code. Today we are putting an end to the most confusing illusion in any toxic relationship. We are going to decode why narcissistic people suddenly act like perfect angels when you try to leave, how they fake their own growth, and how you can stop falling for the mirage. To understand why this sudden change is a trap, we have to look at what happens in your mind when they apologize. Despite all the exhaustion and the pain, you are finally hearing the exact words you have been desperate to hear for years. When they make these sweeping promises to go to therapy or treat you better, it takes you all the way back to the beginning of the relationship. It reminds you of the love bombing phase, when they told you that you were their everything. Because you have a kind, forgiving heart, you let your guard down. But you are applying normal human logic to a personality style that does not play by normal rules. Narcissism is a rigid, inflexible personality pattern. The core ingredients of an antagonistic, narcissistic person are low empathy, entitlement, and manipulation. Those traits do not magically disappear because of one emotional conversation. So, why are they crying? Why are they promising you the world? It is because narcissistic individuals are fundamentally impulsive and entirely focused on their immediate needs. They do something to get what they want or need now, and they do what works for them. In that moment, their primary goal is simple. They do not want you to leave. They do not want to lose the convenience you provide, the status you give them, or the control they have over you. They make a promise around what you are asking for, purely to keep you around. That is their short-term play. They are not sitting there thinking about how their behavior deeply wounded your soul. They are not thinking about the long-term consequences of letting you down again. They are arrogant and grandiose enough to believe that if they just say the magic words today, it will all work out for them tomorrow. This is called future faking. Future faking gets the future faker something now. You stay, you unpack your bags, you give them another chance, or you loan them the money. They get what they want immediately, while you are left holding a worthless promissory note for a future that is never going to happen. But wait, you might say, what if they actually did something nice? Last week, they fixed the washing machine without me asking, and they took me out to a beautiful dinner. Isn't that proof that they are trying? This is the exact thought process that keeps millions of people trapped. You're looking at a few good deeds and asking yourself, is this enough to offset the emotional abuse? That is the wrong question. We desperately want to believe that these good moments are the beginning of a transformation. But let me give you a visual to explain how real change actually works. Change means that things shift and stay shifted. If you were to track real, sustainable change on a chart, you would see a line that steadily goes up over time. Sure, it might have a tiny dip here or there, but the overall line keeps climbing. What you get in a narcissistic relationship is not an upward line. You just get a flat line at the bottom of the page with a few random dots scattered around. They buy you flowers, dot. They apologize for yelling, dot. They pay for a nice vacation, dot. Those dots do not connect to form a line of growth. Dots are just dots. They are isolated, random moments of good luck, much like finding a dollar bill on the sidewalk. You cannot build a financial retirement plan based on the hope of finding dollars on the street, and you cannot build a healthy, secure relationship based on a few random dots of decent behavior. Do not confuse a momentary dot with a permanent line. If the baseline of your relationship involves chronic criticism, silent treatments, and self-doubt, a lobster dinner on a Friday night does not erase the reality of who they are. This leads us to the most dangerous illusion of all. It is a concept that explains exactly why you doubt your own sanity. You are confusing the weather with the climate. If you live in a place with a terrible, freezing, brutal climate, you know what to expect. But imagine that one day, right in the middle of winter, a freak warm front rolls in. The sun comes out and it is 75 degrees outside. It feels absolutely beautiful. That one warm, sunny day in the wintertime can trick you into thinking that you are suddenly living in Santa Barbara. But you are not. The climate is still the climate. Before you can even blink your eyes, the clouds are going to roll back in, and it is going to be a freezing, bitter day once again. In a healthy relationship, the overall climate is based on respect, safety, and mutual care. When something goes wrong in a healthy relationship, we are quick to notice it and say, "Whoa, this person is acting like a jerk today." But in a narcissistic relationship, the climate is entirely toxic. The climate is gaslighting, manipulation, blame shifting, and emotional neglect. That is the permanent atmosphere you live in. And then they give you one sunny day. They do something sweet. They remember an anniversary. They act like a loving partner. Because we are so starved for connection, we take that one day of good weather and we use it to excuse the terrible climate. We use that sunny afternoon to blame ourselves. We think, see, they are capable of being wonderful. I must be the problem. I must be the one who is too demanding or too sensitive. This is the very foundation of the trauma bond. You hold on to the memory of the sunshine to survive the endless blizzards. But ignoring a hurricane because of a 10-minute sunbreak is a recipe for destruction. You have to stop evaluating the relationship based on their best behavior and start evaluating it based on their consistent, daily patterns. Now, I know there is a specific group of you watching this who are dealing with a much more sophisticated manipulator. What happens when the narcissist doesn't just buy you flowers, but actually admits their flaws? What if they say, "You know what? I read an article, and I know I was an absolute jerk to you. I have childhood trauma, and my ego is fragile." What if they actually go to a high-end therapist and come back with psychobabble about their inner wounds? You might think you have hit the jackpot. You might think, they are self-aware. This changes everything. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but a self-aware narcissist is often just a highly educated narcissist. Even if a therapist helps them see that their behavior is destructive, many narcissistic people will simply accept it as an inevitable part of their greatness. They might say, "Yeah, I know I was a jerk, but it was a not okay I could live with because my work is so important." In other words, they acknowledge that people are disposable to them, but they still feel entirely justified in using them. If they do go to therapy to save their reputation or their marriage, they are merely learning to play by new rules. They might stop screaming at you so they don't get into trouble, but they still hold the same contempt for you. They still lack genuine, compassionate empathy. They are just managing their public relations. An apology that starts with, "I'm a narcissist, so you have to understand my trauma," is not an apology. It is a new excuse. True apologies require real accountability. Accountability is not saying, "I pull away because I had trauma as a kid, so you can't be mad at me." Accountability is taking absolute, unfiltered responsibility for the harm caused, without making excuses. And in narcissistic relationships, that true accountability is a ghost that never appears. So, how do you stop getting played by these changes in strategy? How do you protect your mind when they suddenly pivot to being the perfect person? First, stop the shame look back. When you finally realize that their promises were empty, your first instinct will be to cringe at yourself. You will look back and feel sick that you let them back into your life. You will shame yourself for believing them. Please drop the shame. You believe them because you are a normal human being who values trust, second chances, and forgiveness. You did not know you were dealing with an illusion. Do not lash out at the past version of yourself who simply didn't understand the depth of this manipulation. Second, stop doing narcissism math. You cannot balance an equation that is fundamentally rigged. Narcissism math is when they spend $100,000 on a divorce, but fight you over a $20 frying pan. Narcissism math is when they accuse you of cheating because you smiled at a barista, while they are secretly texting their ex all night. Stop trying to make the math work. It is an unsolvable equation. When they change strategies, they are just throwing new, confusing numbers at you. Put the calculator down and walk away from the chalkboard. Walking away from someone when they are suddenly acting like the person you always dreamed they could be is excruciating. It feels unnatural. It feels like you are making a massive mistake. But you are not walking away from a transformed human being. You are walking away from a predator who just changed their camouflage. You survived the worst of their storms. Now it is time to survive their fake sunshine. By seeing the truth of their tactical pivots, you are finally taking your power back. Now I want to hear from you. What was the exact moment you realized their sudden change was actually just a manipulation tactic? What was the fake promise, the future fake, that finally broke the spell for you? Write that moment in the comments below. Someone else watching this video is staring at an "I'm so sorry, I've changed" text right now, wondering if they should unpack their bags and give them one more chance. They desperately need to read your story to know they are not crazy, and that the warmth they are feeling is just a temporary break in the weather. If this video validated your reality today, please hit the subscribe button. Join the Behavior Code community. We are here to decode the most confusing behaviors so you can finally step into clarity and protect your peace. Remember, just because the mask changes doesn't mean the monster left the room. Protect your peace, trust your gut, and keep decoding the behavior. See you in the next video.